functionality to DMP Online, data management plans can now be automatically deposited into an institution's repository. So I'm going to jump straight in with a demonstration of this new functionality. First of all, I'm going to sign in as the administrator. Then I'm going to go to the repository screen. So at the moment we've got no repositories here. If I create a new one, so the sort collection URI is going to be that. Username is sort. Okay, so those are the basic settings for the repository. This box here means that whenever I create a new plan in DMP Online, its metadata will be automatically deposited into the repository. So I'm going to tick that box. And then finally, these boxes here specify the file types that I want to deposit when I'm depositing plans. So I have metadata, PDF files, text files, and Word. Good, so here's my new repository record. These are the settings I've just set. Now these two sections here, this is a list of plans associated with this repository. At the moment we don't have any plans because we've only just built the repository. And then this is a list of activity for the repository. So the repository and DMP Online have an asynchronous connection. Work happens on DMP Online, it gets placed into a queue. This queue job runs on a timed schedule, so like say every 20 minutes or so. And then when the queue is processed, then actions appear inside the repository here. Okay, let me now make a new plan. Just with some basic settings. This is the question set this plan is going to use. I'm just going to run with this test question set. And then finally, this is the repository this plan is going to use. And this is my new repository, test repository. Good, I've now made my data plan. I haven't answered any of the questions associated with it, but I have got enough data to submit a metadata record to the repository. So just jumping to the repository screen, we can see it's still blank, but if I run the queue processor, now when we refresh this page, we can see that my plan has been deposited. And if we look inside of my plan, we've got our metadata, the dates and the titles and the organisations, but we've got no files. That's because I've only submitted metadata, not the actual PDFs and XMLs and so on. Okay, so now let me answer the questions for my plan so it can be finished and submitted. So question 1, what is the data about? Let's say it's about Wales. And section 2, do I have a lot of data? No, there aren't very many Wales left. Let's finish that. Good, okay, so I've now answered all the questions for my data management plan. It's now ready to be exported and deposited into the repository. These are the usual settings you get with DMP Online for footers and headers and page numbers and so on. Open and download are the usual functions from DMP Online. This new button here, Deposit in Test Repository, is the button that we're going to click on to actually get our file from DMP into the repository. Okay, so my request has again been queued and we need to run the queue processor for it to appear inside the repository. I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom of this output page and you'll see the queue schedule for my plan. So my create metadata request, which I did a couple of minutes ago, has run fine, and my deposit the media files is currently in a pending state. And refreshing this page, we can see that all we have is metadata, we don't have any files yet. Now I run the queue, refresh this page, and we've got the files, and refresh this page, and pending has changed to success. So this is a file that was uploaded from the repository. It's a zip file. If I open it, this is the contents of the zip file. It's in Baggit format, so there's a manifest file describing the files inside, and in the data folder we've got 4 files. If you recall, the 4 file types I specified when I set up the repository: text, PDF, Word, and RDF metadata. I can open, say, the PDF file, and there it is in glorious PDF, my data plan with my questions answered. Okay, so this is currently still work in progress, and it has not passed on to a reviewer. What I could do is maybe update it. Perhaps instead of page header text of data management plan, we'll have Martin's data management plan. I'm going to deposit this again into the repository. This time I'm warned that I've already deposited, and do I want to deposit again? Because I'll overwrite what's already there. I think I do. So I run the job. Now refresh this page, note the dates will change. Yep. And here's my new file. Opened. And if I open up the PDF, we can see that the page title's changed to Martin's data plan. Okay. So because we've got an asynchronous queue, it's possible for work to run successfully on DMP Online, but to fail on the repository. For example, if the repository were to break, say somebody turned it off, now when I refresh this page, it doesn't work. If I was to try and deposit and the repository is down, let's see what happens. Okay, so looking at the queue, we've got the metadata worked fine, we've had 2 deposits, and now we've got a 3rd deposit that's in a pending state. I'll run the queue. It didn't seem to flag any errors. What it's actually done is tried to perform the action, realised that it can't because it can't connect to the repository, and it's requeued it to try again later the next time it runs, which hopefully would be in 20 minutes time, when hopefully the server would be back online. Now if I run this again, so I've tried it once, I'm going to try it a second time, same thing happens. It tries the action, doesn't work, it requeues it. I've currently set the limit in the configuration file to try an action 3 times and then give up. So I'm now going to try it for the 3rd time, and at this point it should fail completely and send an email to the administrator. And that's what it's done. This window that's popped up is the email that it's going to send. It says, "Dear Martin, dear administrator, unfortunate errors occurred. There's the log of what it tried to do. There's the error message it was getting, and it should ask the administrator to try and fix the problem." And looking at this queue now, we can see that pending has changed to failed terminated. There's two types of failed status. Failed terminated, which means it's tried, given up, it will never try again, and also failed requeue, which means it has failed on this attempt, but it will try again in 20 minutes time. Okay, so there's one more thing to demonstrate. If I reactivate the repository, so we can see that my work is currently in progress. I now want to move it to an archive state to signify that it's complete and ready to go. So to do that, I'm going to go back to the My Plans page, click on My Plan, and click on lock. And it's warning me that it was last deposited today at 14:47. Am I sure I want to do it? Yes. Okay, so my plan has now been locked on the repository. It still says it's work in progress, but that's fine. We just need to run the queue. Running the queue, the repository has moved from work in progress to archived. And if we have one more look at the repository log, which we can see on the output page or also on the admin screen. This is the repository log. So there's my create request, my create metadata, 2 deposits which worked, a 3rd deposit which failed, and then my most recent request to finalize which worked. And there we have repository integration with DMP Online.